Now available on Blu-ray from Synapse Films is The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue, aka Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. For kids, this is early 70s Spanish-produced horror film, zombie movie. Somebody had said in one of the extras, perhaps it was the first color zombie film of the 70s age post Night of the Living Dead. It's a movie I've seen many times over the years. It was a film that was available on video, and I've seen theatrically a couple of times, and it was never one that I was a really big fan of until I watched this Blu-ray edition. This Blu-ray edition from Synapse looks so good. It looks so incredibly good. It's so sharp. The colors are great, and it's not, when I say the colors are strong and bold, good color, it doesn't mean that they like cranked the color up and it looks like, you know, Willy Wonka. It's just that it doesn't look dull and dingy. A lot of previous video transfers, especially in the videotape days, everything was a little dark. You know, you couldn't really discern between if somebody had brown hair or black hair, and colors weren't, when they should have been vibrant, they weren't. This rectifies that. This looks beautiful to look at. And skin tones, it always sounds weird to the layperson, but the skin tones are really good on these. They look natural. It doesn't look like an old movie. It does in terms of how it's shot and the clothes and the cars and the hair and all that stuff, but it's a good digital HD transfer, a good HD transfer, a new restoration. It's like it'll peel the layers away of the years, and it's like it doesn't look so many decades old necessarily in terms of visual quality. What is this movie about? You fool, you fool. This film is it's set in England, actually. Despite being Spanish produced, it's set in England, and the government is using some kind of sonic device to try to make crops grow faster. And what it winds up having the side effect of doing is apparently making babies very angry and causing the dead to rise. So it's a very slow burn movie. It's this young hippie guy meets up with this young girl who believes she saw something strange. She saw this weird guy near the river and might have been a dead guy who came back to life. And he's basically saying, okay, fine, well, let's get to the bottom of this. There's no way you could have seen this. We're going to go to the cemetery and we're going to make sure clearly this can't be happening. Oh no, it is. So then it becomes who will survive and what will be left of them. So you have it's a pretty small cast. You have a small number of people who are dealing with the dead rising and a police officer who doesn't quite believe that's really what's going on. And eventually it becomes like a zombie siege. Very low key, not tons of zombies, but it's got a really good tone to it. It was directed by Spanish director Jorge Grau, and it's very dreamlike, nightmarish, you'd say, due to the circumstances, but it's a very dreamlike, kind of quiet vibe. It's all dubbed. It's the people dubbing themselves for the most part, but because it was done in Spanish, which I think perhaps at a time when they weren't really doing sync sound, it has that a little bit of like an otherworldly feel to it. And it also has, when it gets gory, it gets gory. It's not Fulci level gore, but the blood flows and it's very gruesome at times. And it's just this dreamlike I keep coming back to. It's a very interesting vibe to it. I've had the chance, as I've said, to see this at a drive-in in the past, and it tends to be a little late in the bill, second or third or fourth on the bill at a drive-in, when it's really quiet and not everybody's awake, and that's like the best time to watch this. To me, this is either a lot of it takes place during the day, too. This is either like a Saturday afternoon when you're home on a nice day movie, or it's a late-night movie when you're in a quiet house. I think it'll work really well on those levels. Extras. Sure, it's got extras. 2 audio commentaries, each with aficionados of that era, that film. So they're both loaded with talking about the genre, the director, all the participants, the style of the film. They're very, very interesting and entertaining. We have an interview with the makeup art, 2 actually, interviews with the man who did the makeup for the film. One is just a one-on-one chat with him, and then another is at a film festival in England. We have radio spots, TV ads, trailer. It was called multiple things. Let Sleeping Corpses Lie. It was called Living Dead at Manchester Morgue. It was called Don't Open the Window, and which was sort of spoofed by Edgar Wright. There were a bunch of Don't movies that were made in the 70s, early 80s, and Edgar Wright sort of spoofed that in his fake trailer called Don't in Grindhouse. But it's fun. It's got a specific 70s trailer narrator who does the don't open the window. And I couldn't tell you who he is, but it's a great voice and I love it. This is a really, really good package. If you've never seen this movie, I would highly recommend picking up if you like 70s horror, if you like Euro horror, if you like 70s zombie stuff. If you have seen this or have owned any previous version of it, this is the definitive version. Unless there are extras on those other ones that weren't carried over to this, I would highly recommend getting this for the upgrade because it looks so good. And I don't know if it was it looking that much better that made the difference for me, but like I said, I saw this movie a couple years ago and I remember thinking, and seeing it this time, I popped it in again going, yeah, it's one I've seen, but I'll take a look at it again. And I really got into it almost out of the gate. There were all these shots of, I think it's Manchester, England. Our hero is riding a motorcycle through the streets of the city under the opening credits, and it's signage. And I've talked about this before, but one of the great things about a nice HD upgrade to something that's older, if it takes place anywhere in a downtown area, it's the signage, it's the storefronts, it's the ads, the signs, the movie marquees, the cars, all of that, the clothes. It's a wonderful time capsule of early 70s Manchester. So anyway, available on Blu-ray from Synapse Films. I highly recommend The Living Dead at Manchester Morgue.